and a pyramid model coach for the Ashland RTC. I've worked with the Ashland RTC for a couple of years. Before that, I worked with the Ashland Independent School District as a behavior specialist. And prior to that, I worked as a psychology associate for 18.5 years at a developmental center with adolescents and adults who had severe behavioral issues and were dual diagnosed with an intellectual disability and then some other, psychiatric, either something like schizophrenia, bipolar, autism, all of those kind of things. So that's a little bit about my background. This is Stacy Stevens, and she is the director of the Ashland RTC, and she's going to be doing the next session on data. So I'll just let her tell you about herself then.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking about the pyramid model and how that can be used to reduce challenging behavior in the classroom. So how many of you guys have heard of the PBIS pyramid model? No pyramid model. Okay. Now, do you use that in your districts or in general? Who do I have here? Like, are you teachers?
I'm special ed for preschool.
Special ed preschool.
Special ed K through 5.
Okay.
Special ed alternate education.
Okay. So hopefully you'll learn some new things about the pyramid model a little bit today. So can anybody relate to this in their experiences as a teacher? Yeah, just a little, right? Like how you imagine yourself and then maybe the reality of the situation some days, right? So we all are, always anxious to find new ways to reduce challenging behaviors and look a little less like the second picture, right? So today I've created a daily visual schedule for you. We're going to just do a quick overview of the PBIS pyramid model. We're going to look into the classroom essentials checklist as kind of a self-check. And then we're going to just focus on the schedules today. So daily schedules, how that should be balanced, and a daily visual schedule and how to do that with fidelity. So the early childhood PBIS, we all know about PBIS, but the pyramid model is what early childhood uses specifically. It's a 3-tiered framework. So the goal is to help young children develop essential social emotional skills so that all the children in the classroom can be successful. It's not a curriculum, it's a framework that other curriculums can fit into. It creates an environment, again, where every child feels good about coming to school, is successful, designing an environment that promotes child engagement, and that focuses on teaching children what to do. So when you look at a child that has a challenging behavior, instead of your focus being on stopping that behavior, the focus is on teaching them a skill, a replacement skill that they're going to be able to do that's going to replace that challenging behavior. So it's more on teaching those skills that they need. And again, teaching expectations and routines that are going to be used very consistently. So breaking down the pyramid model a little bit, the yellow on the bottom is the effective workforce, and that's going to be all of your staff, all of your systems, all of your policies and things, support that is in place for the rest of the pyramid. And it's important that you have the effective workforce is very strong so that your pyramid, will stand. Just like if you have a house that doesn't have strong foundation, if you don't have a strong foundation there with the effective workforce, you're not going to have sustainability of the program, and so that is why that is there. Tier 1, there in the bluish green color, includes two things, and that is the nurturing and responsive relationships. And that is focusing on not just the teacher's relationships with children and vice versa, but on the relationships with parents, with coworkers, children's relationships to, between them, between the children in the classroom. The second part of Tier 1 is high-quality supportive environments. And that is going to be the things like your schedule, your transitions, your physical environment, all of those things, your quality materials. And if you look at all of Tier 1, we typically think of that as universal strategies, and that means all of our preschool children need that. And if those things are in place, you have about 80% of the children that's going to be enough to reduce their challenging behaviors. If those things are in place and being done with fidelity. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, what that means in terms of that it has to be done with fidelity. Tier 2 is going to be the targeted social emotional supports. And that's going to be for, you're going to teach those to all children in the preschool classroom, but you may have to individualize those to reach an additional 15%. So targeted social emotional supports are going to be teaching friendship skills, teaching problem solving, emotional literacy, but you want to make sure those two are in place before you move to Tier 3. Tier 3 is going to be the more intensive supports. So that's going to be things like your functional behavior assessment and your individualized behavior programming. And that should pick up the extra 5% who didn't respond to the 2 tiers below. Okay. Today we're going to be just focusing on Tier 1. Supports. So does anybody ever feel like this is their pyramid? Like it's kind of turned upside down and that the majority of children you see need those intensive supports. And so what happens is that all of your energy is spent kind of running around, putting out fires and trying to balance that pyramid, And that's because the pyramid has to be built from the base up. The base has to be in place before the other layers are added, because you're going to reach the majority of children through that Tier 1. Again, Tier 1 that we're going to focus on today are the supportive environments, because that's what's going to number 1, promote engagement, and number 2, it's going to really decrease those challenging behaviors. We talk about with the quality environment, structuring the classroom for success, clarifying expectations, doing them consistently, creating predictability in your environment. And those are through things like your balanced schedule, clear classroom routines, transitions that are smooth, strategies that are going to promote engagement, and making sure those behavior expectations and rules are in place. So I gave, there was a packet with 3 handouts in it. The first one on the top should say preparing for the pyramid, classroom essentials, and be just a checklist. And I think it has 6 practices, but I want you to just look at the top 5. The top 5 practices. And I want you to take a minute and just look over these. And I want you to check items that are part of your current practice. Not what you intend to put in place, but things that are part of current practice. And then circle items that are not currently part of your practice. So I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to look over this and think about, and if you're not in a current classroom, think about a classroom that you've been in recently. look at, are the foundations in place? Is the structure, the consistency, the environment, are all of those things in place? Because just having those 5 elements in place and using them consistently and with fidelity, they're going to reduce a lot of the challenging behaviors. So which elements of the classroom essentials do you fully have in place? So, maybe I have to, on the slide, is this like connected to the, okay, we'll just skip over this. Does anybody want to share, like, which ones that you feel like you're confident that you have in place? Do you feel like your classrooms that you're in have all of them in place?
Pretty much. I think for
Huh?
the most part.
Pretty much, you feel like that's great, that's good.
I think one of the ones that I've seen missing out on some is with a visual schedule, says all must be present. I think sometimes we forget including the photograph or clip art of that activity. Sometimes we write out the time and where it's going to be, but we often forget to add that visual. So if it's lunch, have a picture of the cafeteria.
Right, because who's that scheduled for? Is that scheduled for you, the teacher, or is that scheduled for the children?
And I love the way it says it indicates the passing of time. Yeah, we've got our visual schedule, but we don't have any way to manipulate that to let the students know or the kiddos know that, oh, it's almost time to go home, or it's lunchtime, or whatever. It's on the board, and we've got it. It stays posted all the time. And I think that's one of the things that when I was in the classroom, I did miss that part of it because I didn't understand
The importance of that, right?
Yes.
Well, and a lot of times, we'll go into a classroom and they have it, and sometimes it's beautiful, and they have the pictures and all of that, but is it being referred to? Is it being used? And is it, and then sometimes you might have, it's used the first month of school, and then it's like, oh, they understand, they've got it, they don't need it now. But we'll talk more about how you really need to do this all year. You're gonna have children that need that all year. So we'll talk more about that. But that's what we're going to delve into today, are just more elements of the schedule. So why are schedules important? How do you think having a schedule for the day is going to prevent challenging behaviors?
I need routine.
Routine?
As soon as they come in, they know where to go, what they're doing.
They need to know what's happening, right? And why is that? Why do they need routine? How does having a routine make us feel? Do you guys like having a routine?
Makes me feel calm and I'm centered.
Yeah. I need it, right? I need to know where I'm going. I need to focus myself, right? Because how does it feel if we're not centered and we don't know what we're doing next?
Chaotic.
Chaotic. What are some other feelings that might?
Anxious.
It makes me anxious, like not to have that, And so just knowing what to expect in a situation reduces anxiety. And when anxiety is reduced, they're going to be able to focus more. They're going to be able to engage with you. So yes, the reduction of that. It provides information about what to expect during their day, so those expectations are there, which therefore decreases anxiety. It promotes predictability, again, to decrease anxiety and feelings of chaoticness, and then increases engagement. And then that's going, when children are involved and engaged, they aren't thinking about what they can get into next. So engagement is the key, keeping them busy, keeping them engaged, in something that they're interested in. And therefore, you're going to have less challenging behaviors. So when we think about developing a daily schedule, there's 5 keys that we need to remember. We want to always minimize transitions if we can. We want to have a balance of teacher-directed and child-directed activities. So, generally, circle time's gonna be the teacher-directed, center times are gonna be child-directed, small groups could be, I guess, either. You wanna provide ample time for the child-directed play. And we'll talk a little bit about that, more about the importance of that. You wanna balance your large group and your small group instruction, and you want to balance active activities and passive activities, so that they are getting movement and all of those kind of things with songs. And so including play. So having more time for play allows more time for what? What are we learning through play? What are we learning through play that could reduce challenging behaviors?
Social skills,
Social
Teamwork.
skills, those social skills.
teamwork.
Teamwork, friendship skills. And so, I coach some individual teachers on the pyramid model, and I have a teacher who, she was really focused on, friendship skills. I mean, like all the time, she was teaching those in group and, large group, and then she was practicing with small group, and she was doing all those things, and she's like, I just don't feel like they're getting it, But she didn't have enough playtime. Her centers were not in the morning and the afternoon. She didn't have enough opportunities that they were able to learn those on their own through the practice and generalization of it. And so learning through play and having that playtime is so powerful. Dr. Karen Purvis did research that it takes 300 to 400 repetitions of an act or a new skill to develop a single synapse in the brain. But if that is done through play for young children, it's 10 to 20 repetitions. So think about what you're getting, the bang for your buck through play, learning through that play. I mean, that is how preschool children, that is their work. That is how they are learning. And so this gives us just, a model of that. The pyramid model talks about that it's important that 50% of the time is spent in child-directed. That is how important play is in your schedule. Does anybody in here have their own classroom, or are you assisting in other classrooms? You're all assisting, right? Okay. So we won't go through this activity, but I do want you to just think about it. About balancing the, and it's your second handout there if you just want to look at it. We'll just talk about it in general. And this is looking at what is your classroom schedule without like bathroom breaks and transitions, and whether each of the activities you're thinking about, is it an active or passive activity? Is it teacher directed, or is it child directed? And is it large group or small group? Because sometimes, you'll find that as teachers, we want it to be adult directed because we feel like that's where we're getting the opportunity to teach them. And so we feel like we can't fit everything in. I've heard that from teachers. There's just so much to fit into that 15 minutes of circle time twice a day, But that's not really the largest group, time that they're learning. And so I think we need to kind of get away from that, of feeling that pressure that that's the only time we're really teaching them. So visual schedules. So an effective visual schedule should have all the major activities. It should have a visual for each activity. So like you were saying before, there weren't visuals there. If there's just writing, the child doesn't know what that says. It's very unlikely at that age that they are reading at the level that they're going to know that that says, breakfast or centers, or, and the words should be there because we label everything. But those visuals have to be there for every activity. You want it displayed at a level that the child can manipulate the schedule, because often you can use that as a job that somebody moves, the indicator that you use for the visual schedule. So you don't want it to be above your bulletin board because you're the only one that's going to be able, to reach that. So you do want it at a level that they can manipulate it. You want to make sure that you have visuals that note changes in your schedule. Because, how many things come up during a day, right? Rain, number one, right? Your schedule changes because it's raining. You might go outside for the day. And we'll talk a little bit more about changes as well. You want to include different languages. If you have dual language learners in your classroom, you want to make sure that there are words to represent that as well. And that you're including pictures of activities that reflect each of the children's cultures as well. So this is an example of a daily visual schedule. On this one, you can see that they can see it, it's posted where they can interact with it. It has images on it that children can understand that represent the activity. It can be manipulated. This one, it looks like they just put Post-its over it as the activity has occurred so that children know, what is past and what is next. So this is one example. This is one, again, indicates that the activity is completed. You can see the frog there at rest time. They use, it looks like Velcro to move down which one they're on now. So it also prepares the children for, what's next and changes. So using visuals, these are just some of the visuals that are available through the Head Start Inclusion website. One thing that sometimes I recommend is not just, getting a clip art that makes sense to the children, but actually taking pictures in your classroom of the children or the activity that they're going to be doing at the time, because that's more meaningful for them. And they can even help you with this. They can help you create their schedules, because we know that when the child is involved in it, they have more ownership of it, and it means more to them, and they're going to learn from that. So once you have your schedule, now what? So this is sometimes where we stop. We just teach it maybe briefly for, maybe for a month or so, but we need to teach it. We need to refer to that schedule throughout the day, every day. And we need to think about individualizing schedules for children that need a little bit more. So when we teach the daily schedule, we review it with the entire class, so maybe during a morning circle or something like that. We show the visuals, we label the activity, and we make sure that we have something to show the passage of time. Passage of time is really important because children don't have a good sense of time, and so this makes it more concrete when you have something there that's going to indicate that. You're teaching the schedule by using first, next, and then language. So you're introducing that language to them. First we'll have snack, and then we're going to have a center or a circle. Or first we're going to morning meeting, next we'll eat snack, and then we'll have centers. As you're pointing to the visuals to show them the progression. And you can also ask children about questions about the schedule. What did we just do? What's next? Kind of like you see calendar time taught. What was yesterday? What's today? What's next? So they already often know that language, and so you're just incorporating that into your schedule. So I can't stress this enough. Refer to the schedule throughout the day. So every time the whole class is together, if the schedule is changing, if children are unsure what to do, they seem confused, remind them of the schedule. This is supposed to be 3. Okay, so this is just a very short video on just doing a schedule review. So I'm going to show you guys this.
Our schedule for Tuesday. It's the purple one.
I'll hold yours a second.
Preschool on Tuesday. It's the purple one.
Well, this is a MacBook, so then
Is there not just a volume button?
I don't, that's what I said, I don't see a volume button at the bottom, but. Yeah. Yeah. Nope. I thought maybe it was just right in there.
She's not there?
That was it. That was it. It's like, right, so let's get slide. Maybe.
Preschool on Tuesday. Okay, now we're at first circle time. Zero there, zero. Thank you. And then what are we gonna do after circle? You put the finger. And then. And then. You focus on the name. Second circle one again.
So that was just a short example. She used a child to explain the schedule to the group. And also, that's also, do you guys have jobs in your class for each child? That's always a good idea to make sure, each child has a job, and that's, schedule reviewer would be an appropriate job for a little one.
Preschool on Tuesday.
Okay. So we were talking about when changes occur. And so this is a visual of if, they have a little element there of raindrops for a rainy day schedule. Can you think of other changes that might be important to add? Children might need to know about that you might need to have visuals for in your schedule or ready for your schedule.
So having a field trip. Program at school. that
Program,
kids to go
yeah.
to.
Field trip, drills. Drills are big, if we know about those, we want to let them know, fire drills, tornado drills, lockdowns, all of those things. Maybe just a party, or a guest speaker, those kind of things. So, how's that going to reduce challenging behaviors? Remembering to do that and having that ready. Do you guys like surprises?
Well, they know it's coming,
Yeah, not everybody likes a surprise. Some of us don't like changes in our schedule at all. Particularly children, who are on the autism spectrum. I mean, this could, just simply doing this, you could go, your day could go downhill just because you didn't have this ready, or you didn't know, or you weren't prepared for that. Preparing them in advance, again, is going to give them some time to accept the change in the routine, in the routine and the schedule. And again, why? What is it doing for them by preparing them?
keeping them anxiety.
Reducing that anxiety, exactly. Making their world more predictable and less chaotic. And for some children, that is of utmost importance. You can also do things like put a stop sign on an activity that's not gonna happen or those kind of things. But, and I think it gives an example here of preparing them for a change. Now, I hope this doesn't bust our eardrum as well. I apologize if it does. I think it was this one over here that, yeah, he manipulated.
Great job including our friends this morning. All right, let's take a look at our schedule. Thank you, Nevaeh. Nevaeh, I love the way that even though you came a little bit late, you came down and you sat down and you're safe. And look at her tracking eyes. I love that. So we have definitely finished with breakfast. We're going to do a super quick group, then center time. Now we have some changes to our schedule. So we are actually scheduled for the playground today, but because it's raining, we cannot go to the playground. I know. So we are going to the cafeteria instead. That's where we're scheduled today. And then our second change comes right here before a small group. So we are also scheduled for the outdoor classroom today. Can we go outside today? No, we cannot. So while some of us are doing small group, some are going to go to the gym, and then we switch, and then these friends will go to the gym, and these friends will come back and do small group. Do you think we can do that change? What is it called when we are making changes? We're going to go with the flow today. And then we have lunch, rest in journals, and then dismissal.
Okay, so just a short example.
Great job including our friends.
For the change. So another thing we need to think about is individualizing our schedules that we have. Some children are going to need a little bit more than just that universal visual schedule that we prepare for everybody. And these are just some examples of ways that you can visualize it to support different children. In the picture at the top is giving the child choices so that they have choice, which is choice is always, a big motivator and to reduce challenging behavior as well. When children feel like they have the choice and the power, then that is going to reduce them as well. And so they make choices and they kind of create their own schedule. The second one there looks like choosing 3 activities in a row there to keep them. And then the next one looks like there's a first then chart. I brought, if anyone would like, some laminated first thens that I have. If you want to just let me know afterwards, and I will give you one of those. And this is another example of an individual schedule. I also have some of these, if anybody would like these. So, because either they can open them as they occur, or they all can be open, and then as the activity occurs, they can close them. So, and again, I have some of these if you would like those as well. This one was using the first then. This is always a good way to motivate children because when first you're putting something that is not preferred and then following it up with then that is a more preferred activity. This is individualizing schedule. This one on the left there is the one for Caleb, is one that's just hung in the classroom to help him manipulate himself. The other one there is one that's on a lanyard under his, around his neck. You can put them on a belt loop or those kind of things so that they can carry them around with them. That creates some security as well, that they know what they're doing. They can look at it any time. And, you know, think about it, how many of you guys have like an agenda that you carry everywhere, or a calendar or something you carry with you? Do you ever just double check it? Do you ever look at that thing 3 or 4 times knowing what's on there? You have it memorized, you've looked at it so many times, but we double check it, right?
Or have a moment of panic when somebody says, we have a meeting right now, and you're like, looking at it,
And so he has it right there around his neck, you know, so that, again, decreases anxiety, comfort, security for him. This is another way to individualize it. This one, I believe, is like at the top of, like in the front of the room, and then he takes it to each center, like he takes one of the cards to each center to show like what he's done, what he's already passed. And so there's also object schedules, because we do have some children that due to their intellectual functioning, or perhaps due to their concrete thinking, that they have not connected that a picture represents an activity or an actual object. So sometimes you have to use actual objects as your schedule. And so the one on the right there shows the actual items that they're going to be using during the activity. So there's an actual book, there's a block, there's a, I'm not sure what that one right there is. And some, you need to think of it in terms of from the child's point of view. So an object that might represent the activity to you may not make sense to them. So you kind of have to look at what the child understands and think about creating it from the child's perspective. The one on the left there at the top is a tactile object schedule that might be used with a child that had visual impairments. And so if you notice, like circle time is really just like fuzzy, you know, fuzzy little circles that are around, because, you know, they can feel those, and that indicates, you know, when they go to circle. If you look, I think the playground, it's the swing things, because that's something they can feel, are the chains on the swing. So again, you're thinking about it from the child's perspective. The bottom one there is a representative object schedule, and so that is once the child is starting to understand that some objects are representative of things. So you might have miniatures. It's kind of a combination. They have a miniature bus there, but then they have an actual spoon that they're going to use for breakfast or lunch. So it's kind of a combination of real life objects, which is the first one, and then representational objects. And sometimes we don't think about doing these with our children, you know, who have special needs, because they're not getting it from, you know, just the visual schedule. They need a little bit more. And so when you're individualizing, you know, always think about using objects. And this, if you want more information on the pyramid model, you would like more resources, this is on our Ashland RTC website. If you'll take a minute and use the QR code there, we'll take a few minutes and explore that. There are, when you get on there, you may want to click on the family resources. That'll take you to another page, which gives you tons and tons of handouts that can either be, you know, sent home in a child's backpack. It can be, you know, screenshotted if you use Rewind, the app, or those kind of things. There are, under Tier 2, you'll find resources on Protect with the Turtle and self-regulation skills. If you click on the little purple spider at the top, it takes you to social story and resources on Siri the Spider. There are some podcasts on there. there's an overview, pyramid model overview video. There's so many resources on there. And we're adding to those every day. Was everybody able to get in there?
Mine's being slow.
Slow, okay. So why don't you guys take a few minutes and look over those, because we're really excited about, providing those resources that you can just hop on there and, if you have, some of those parent resources, I can't say enough good things about. There are little backpack connections that are just one-page sheets that are in the format of a newsletter. And they have things like how to, tips to prevent your child from having a meltdown, how to better be able to take your child on an errand without challenging behaviors. I mean, there's just so many different things. How to help your child handle frustration, how to help your child handle sadness. There's just so many social emotional resources on there. Not all of them are from, most of our resources with the pyramid model come from challengingbehavior.org. Not all of them on here are from that. There are also some conscious discipline things on there under this. Let's see if I can bring it up. Maybe we can kind of explore this together.
You want me to do it while you talk?
Hmm.
You want me to-
No, I'm just trying to, I don't know if I can bring it up through there. I thought I could, but it doesn't show. No, maybe. Do you know how to do this? Oh, okay. Okay, that would work, I think. Maybe. Here we go. This is a back, so this gets, I get confused. Oh,
There.
I see.
There, and then, there it is. And I just want it bigger. You're not sure. There. There, there. Okay, there.
Okay. So this is what you get when you click on Tucker the Turtle. And so this will take you to a scripted story for Tucker. This is a version of the scripted story for home, so a resource for parents. And again, all this stuff can be printed out, and we often will print it out and label and laminate it, and bind these resources for parents. Here are the family resources. So each one of these backpacks, like this one, talks about schedules and routines. And so this one's to help children with expectations. And then Tier 3 resources, you're gonna have things here for problem solving. I mean, there's just, you could kind of explore this. So you have your solution card kits, specific problem solving steps. So this could really help your teachers, you know, have some concrete resources to use when they're teaching social emotional skills in the classroom. Has visuals that can be printed out. So does anybody have any questions about anything that we've gone over? Questions, comments? Anybody have a takeaway, something new that they feel like they learned today? Something maybe that they'll, pardon?
I think you've given us a lot of good information.
So, and be sure to let your teachers know about, you know, our website, because again, there's lots of things on there that I think, this has, some podcasts. We have the Ashland RTC, does podcasts once a month. So there's, if you're into podcasts, there's some podcasts on there. This takes you to lots of conscious discipline things that are good with connecting with families and resources. So thank you guys. And if anybody, like in the future, wants more information on the pyramid model, we do trainings. We have a Tier 1 training that we will probably do sometime in, I'm going to say July or August probably. It'll be one of the summer ones. Also we do individual and group coaching with state-funded preschool teachers when the districts sign on to partner with the Ashland RTC. And so we actually take them through all of these trainings in person and then do follow-up coaching and action planning with the teachers in the classroom. So if you want more information, check out the website or just ask one of us for more information. And if anybody wanted